Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bootcamp 2020. In today's session, we are going to be looking at how to use Stripe with custom workflows. So Zeeshan is going to be taking over doing this exercise today, and the rest of us will be standing by. Zeeshan, on to you.
Hello. Okay, so what we need to understand is the content we have covered last week was pre-built checkout page. The pre-built checkout page, what it does is actually that you do not have to worry about how the checkout page look like, where will be the button, where what type of information the checkout will take, and how to secure it. You do not have to worry. You just use the Stripe function to redirect to checkout, and it will open up a page from the Stripe, and it will take all the information and submit the information. So you do not have to worry about anything. But sometimes if you are working on a big project or application, you do not want your workflow or checkout workflow to be controlled by someone else. You want it to be controlled by yourself. You need to be a particular UI. You want a checkout button to be somewhere. You need to show product in a different style on your page. So then you need to customize your page so that you can show whatever you want on the checkout page, and then you can use all those things. And checkout should be done with the Stripe, but with your custom UI. So for that, we need to use Stripe's checkout API, so that we can call the API of the Stripe, and we will use a element built by the Stripe. So for taking input, will ask the Stripe card element. So it will only be a card element which will accepting the card information, and then you can use wherever you want to put in your page. So that's what we need to cover in today's class. So first of all, let me share my screen. And okay, can you see? Okay, so now the content of today's class, as Sarja has already mentioned, that it's in project 01, Stripe payment intent. And Sarja has mentioned multiple links for your interest and to learn about it. What you can do is, let me open few of them to understand. This is the article. It shows you the flow, but it skips the client content, how you will be submitting the content to the server. The link we were working last week has content which is relevant over today's class as well, except payment link. This link provides us two type of implementation: pre-built checkout and custom flow. So we have covered this pre-built checkout last week. Today I'll cover from this custom payment flows link. So it will be the similar in case of UI. So we'll use the, you can see here, that's the card field button, but this only card field from the Stripe. Otherwise your page you can build by your own. So I'll be following this article or this link. And for starting the project, what I did is, as I did just last class, that I have created a basic structure with the Gatsby starter, Hello World starter. So that's the basic structure, and it's in our repository. So you will see all the code here in this repository once we are done with the class. And that's this project has nothing. There is no code, just a template. Let me start it first. Netlify dev. Now you need to see again, as we are working with the API, so there will be an involvement of client and server both. So we need to work Netlify functions and the client side with the Gatsby in React. So for that, you need to install Stripe. And also the Stripe React.js, Stripe.js, these two libraries as well. So I'll copy them over as well. Meanwhile, it's being installed. Let's check out what else we need to do. We need to install this Stripe for the server. Now you can see the payment flow. How the payment custom flow will work. That's the this diagram show you. This diagram will explain. Customer will click on a link or something, and it will go to the payment page of ours. No Stripe page. And then customer will do some action, will send that action to the server. Server will talk to the Stripe, and then server will return information, payment information, which is called client secret. Stripe will return to the server, and our server will return that information to the client. So custom initially, before being checked, begin to the providing information of the card, customer will start action, and from the client will send a request to the server will send that request to the Stripe, and it will create intent. It is called in Stripe terminology, it is called payment intent. And that payment intent will create a payment intent on the Stripe server, and it will give us a client secret. So that, why? Because later on client will then directly send request to the Stripe server, and there will be no our server involved. So we will receive this client secret. Once we have this, then what we can do is from the client, user will fill credit card information and then submit that information directly to the Stripe. So you can see this line does not exist here. It will, the call will directly go to the Stripe server. And if it's payment successful, we'll receive succeed information, which will send to the directly to the client. So that's the flow we need to work on it. So the flow we talked about, the customer will hit something from the client, and it will go to the server, and server will create payment intent. So what the server is going to do, that's the code. We have seen this line in the last class as well. The difference is stripe.paymentintent.create. That will be on the server. So customer will server will call this create, and server will provide amount, currency, metadata, any other information server need to provide. This request will go to the Stripe server, and then a Stripe server will return something which is called client secret, and that client secret will be sent back to the user, and then client will send request for the confirmation card on the Stripe server. So let me installation is done. What we can do is, first of all, let's create the YAML build so that's what we need to add in Netlify, so that function creation will work. Functions, and inside that function, what I will do is I will call Netlify functions, create checkout. It will create a function and ask for the details. So I'm choosing the simplest one so that there should not be any issue. So that's the simple checkout function. Now what we need to do is whenever we receive a request from the server, first of all we need this stripe require, and the key will be coming from environment and we'll name it stripe key, and I'll pick that from my server. Okay, so stripe.com. Server, we'll just call process.env.stripe key. Okay, and
Zeeshan, there's some background noise. Can you check?
just a moment. Is it fine now?
Yes.
Okay, so the next step is we need to call this code inside our function. So we are assuming that user will hit the server API and we'll call the stripe payment.create. So I'll copy this over. And the payment intent or whatever you want to name it is stripe, and it will be available because we have required this payment intent.create amount. This amount is in cents. So if you are saying 1099, so that means 10.99. So if I'll say 80, it means 80 cents. So I'll mark it 8,000, that means it's 80. So at this moment, we only need these information, and this will create a payment intent object. We need to send information from this payment intent to the client. So what we have in this is client secrets. So instead of using this, we don't need this. What we'll do is we'll call the client secret. We name it a client secret, and this will be like this. So the key will be the body that will be sent to the client, that will be client secret, and the value will be payment intent dot client secret. That's it for this function, nothing else. Okay, now we need to move to the client. So that's you can see it's showing that you need to call from the client your server URL. It will return your UID secret, and then you will send that information to the confirm payment method. So that's what we have in the React. Important thing is in this link they have provided you a demo code. It's very good. This link has provided you how you can create multiple type of card by using the API, the Stripe element. So that's a different style of different type of card you can create. Like you say, sometimes we have IBN number of an account. So instead of calling the credit card, we can Stripe support the IBM number. So if you provide IBN number, it will charge from that account instead of your credit card. So that's also provided by the Stripe, and this link has provided the UI how you can create it, so you can use these type of elements. These are called Stripe elements. So as you can see, uh, in case of card element, this is a text box and it contains all the information which I can pass here and everything. This is a card element of a Stripe. I'll show you in a moment how we can create and use it. Okay. So now on the client side, what we need to do is first, definitely we need to load the Stripe as we have done in the last class as well. Additionally, we need to call Stripe elements. That's a root element of anything if you want to do with the Stripe. And you will use it as an element and you will pass the Stripe promise inside it. So it will be again exactly similar like context API. So you will create a context. So this element is a context provider and you will pass a Stripe promise into it. So any component inside this element will have access to the Stripe information, and it can use the Stripe and you can submit information to the Stripe server. So we need to use this element in our code. What we'll do is in pages index, here I'll use now. Here we need to load this Stripe promise. We need to provide key, so I'll use my publish key, and then here we need to create element. So that's the Stripe element. This is being imported from the React Stripe.js, and inside that you need to provide a Stripe promise. Now here we will create card or whatever you need to. So you want to use it, we'll see in a moment that you will be using the Stripe, use Stripe and use element hooks. For using those hooks, you need to be inside this tag. So whatever component you will be creating and using inside this element will be able to call, use Stripe and use element hooks, otherwise it will not work. So let's go back to here. Once we are done, we need to create some component called checkout form. So what it contains, that's a separate card section. So I'm skipping this. We need checkout form. In checkout form, we'll be using a handle function that will call the server, and it will be creating the card. So I'll, instead of creating two components as this example is doing, I'll be creating just one component so that we don't have to create two or three components. So what I'll do is in component form. Yes. Inside checkout form, and here we need to call a Now this page is ours. We will, let me just run the code. Code stripe is not defined. Okay, so now we have this hello world, and we can call our checkout form element here. And at this moment, there is nothing, just a checkout form. Now, this is our UI. It's not page provided by the Stripe. But what we can do is we can use our page. We'll be creating UI for ourselves, but only the element to show the input box of card will be using the Stripe input box. Stripe, it is called a Stripe card element, so that it will be only the card element, and you can customize its CSS as well. So in the card form, what I'll do is Stripe card element. You can see it has created a card element where you can so the Stripe has provided you the card element, in which in a single line you can provide the card, years and expiry, and the CV code. So you can, now you have this component and you can customize it your way. So as we have seen moment before, there are called Stripe elements. So you can see this page, it has provided you all the UI. You can go and check out its UI, so you can customize UI by the way you want. Just you need Stripe element for just putting the card information. Other than that, you can customize everything. So for that, what I'll do is I'll add a CSS file. Import it here. And I'll customize it. I'll show you in a moment how we'll be customizing it. But at this moment, okay. Now what we need is, first of all, we need to create a card element which we have created, and that card element requires few options. So what will be the color of text, the font family, the color size, in if it's invalid, so what color you need to provide. That's been asked by the Stripe, so that you can create your UI for that. So I'll copy this. At this moment, we do not have to spend time on CSS, and this element will be provided in the card element directly. Options. Okay, so now what? Let me show you color red. You can see the text color is red. The icon color, if it's invalid, you can see it's a blue color. So it's an invalidation color. If the card information is invalid, you can specify what color should be for the error, and what the background or the foreground color of the invalid card number. So you can see that's some kind of an orange color. So if I want to make it green for the incorrect. If it's a correct number, then there will be no problem. If not, then there will be a problem, right? Okay, so that's the information we have added on the card element, and we can customize card element in some way, but at this moment I am not focusing on the customizing the card element. I'll show you because it's also important. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to call a function on the click of our button so that it sends request for the confirmation. So here what I'll do is I'll create a button checkout. We have checkout button, and on click of this button we'll call a function checkout submit async. This will be our function. Now in this function, what we need to do is we'll need to call on our server. So our server will create payment intent and will return us a client secret. And based on that client secret, we will send request to the Stripe server, and the Stripe server will detect the payment. So for that, as you can see here, this code is does not have a server call, but we need to have to fill this client secret. So first of all, we need to call the server. So in this checkout button, I need to call the server. For that, const response fetch function slash, the name of our function is checkout. So it will be checkout, and to make it a bit secure, we'll make it a post request. Data should be inside the body and not in the URL. Once we'll call it, we'll have the data. We can see this. You can see we have received client secret from server. So once we have filled the card element or not, that does not matter because that flow is not invoked yet. We just click the checkout button, it sends the request to the server, and our server will create a payment intent from this Stripe based on amount, currency, and whatever data, and it will return you the secret. So it will create a kind of a session or a kind of a information that now Stripe server will receive a payment information from the client. Once we receive this client secret, then we can send request to the Stripe server directly for the payment. Now for this, what we need to do is we need to call the Stripe, and we need to use the element, and for that we need to use hooks. As you can see here, use a Stripe hook and use element hook. That's what we have. So for that we'll call, and both of them will be available inside the Stripe.js library. So use Stripe element, use element. These hooks will you will be able to call these hook if your checkout form is within a context of Stripe element. So you can see we have element, it's work as a context API, and our checkout form is inside this element. So if you call use Stripe somewhere else, let's say if I call use Stripe here, it will give an error that you cannot call it over here. So you'll receive an error. So you can try it out, but it will be an error. Okay. So we have now Stripe informs. That's why Stripe is available, because we need to call this. We have provided this Stripe promise over here. And based on this, we can call any other function if you remember our previous class. So from here, what we can do is we can call stripe.confirm payment method secret and that this object. So what we can do is const result await type dot confirm payment, confirm card. So we need a client secret and an object. So the client secret will be coming from this. So we'll call it data dot client secret. I'll use this key. Now we need to pass this object, payment method, card element, and bling. So this is very important because I have wasted my around 10 to 12 hours because I was just I was just using this because I was trying to write it by myself and I forget to use this payment method. So you guys have heard about a semicolon can waste your day or two. So this payment keyword wasted my day, more than a day, and I was the error was something different. It was saying circular JSON error. So I was trying to find some circular JSON error, and over the web there was an error related to Stripe for circular JSON. So I just went on that line, and it wasted too much of time. But you need to see if something is missing, then the strategy which I've applied in the last, that I tried to create a new project and copied everything again. Instead of typing, I just copied, so it worked. Then I try to compare it. So whenever you face a problem, sometimes some days are not your days, so you will face such problems. Okay, so inside that object, you need to provide payment method, and it requires a property card which reads the data from card element. And what is this card element? This is the card element which we have created. So to avoid any 10 hours mishap again, I'm just copying it. Payment method colon object card colon element dot get element. And then you need to provide card element which is imported from the Stripe. So Stripe somehow identifies that your page has card element and you are using the name of this element. So once you call elements.get element, Stripe picks the card element from your page, get the information, and it will submit to the server. And the payment detail, you can provide anything, your name, let's say I'll say Hira Khan. So it will be payment detail. You can provide address, email as well. Okay. So that's first you need to call the server. So the server create an intent, give you the secret. Then you call the card confirmation, confirm the payment card. It will accept the secret. So it will be connected. Stripe will know that which intent or which order it is being processed, or which for which payment the card information I have Stripe has received. So once we are done, we will have the So you can see we have created the element, provided the stripe promise, which we have seen quite many times now. Checkout form. In checkout form, we have created the form, we have provided the card element, which is provided by the stripe. I'll show you all these elements, other elements as well. Card element, use element, we have this. We need to specify specific style for the font family, and so these options need to be provided here instead of from CSS. So we have provided it over here, and once we'll click the submit, on the submit, what we need to do is we need to first send on our server, get the secret, then submit this information. Now let's move to, okay. So we have this form. And then what I'll do is click the submit. Receive the client secret from the server and result. In result, it will return a payment object which show you the amount, the capture method, all the information, and the payment method type, and the status succeed. Succeed means your transaction has been successful. So let's go to the server and see if we have received payment. Yes, you can see abc at the gmail. So you have customer detail as well, owner name Zia Khan, email. So you have received these detailed information and all this information, and you see this is $80, not $8,000, because it receives in cents. So that's how you submit your card information to the server. Now let me just customize the a bit of the CSS. For that you need to understand uh, this element. Stripe provided us has a CSS class stripe element, so you can control CSS inside that particular element, so that you, what you want to do is, you at this moment it is as long as width of your it's completely stretched to your width of your page, so you need to uh, reduce its size. So what we can do is we can pick this CSS class, or we can wrap it inside our div, and we can control our div as well. But this element has been provided and it's good for using over here. So what I'll do is with let's say 400 pixel. You can see now it's not being switched to the full screen, but it will be at 400. So you can see this, but I'll just have to, let me use the old CSS. It's quite, okay. And now okay, so now you can see if I'll provide detail, these are detail. So now you can control everything in your uh, in this element, and you can apply any style you want. You can give a background color. Let's say if I say background can see we have a little background. So the link I have shown you, the which is related to the stripe element, you can explore this and you can create whatever type of css you want. This, it has provided that you have a source, github source, so you can customize, you can apply your css or whatever css you want. So that's how you will use the card element. And you have uh, other type of card element as well, so that you can at this moment we are using this card element which accepts the card, air and cvc in single line. You can use card and expiration cvc separately as well. So the link I have shown you, this one, it has all these demos and you can use them, all this information. So for us, what we need to do is we need to go to the checkout form, and instead of, as you can see, we have this card element. What we can do is, let me just comment it out. And card number element option here as well. You can see only number element. Now you can customize whatever you want to customize at this moment. Will accept only number, and for CVC and card, what you can do is you can provide card expiry element, card CVC element. You can provide same options over here. Okay. Now you can see we have this card. And then the difference is, what we were doing is we were calling element dot get element card element. At this moment, we do not have card element because card element is for single element which contains card, expiry date, everything. In this case, we just need to provide card number element. Expiry and CVC, we do not provide. Stripe somehow magically identifies this itself and grabs from the DOM. So we just need to provide this card element over, card number element over here, and we are good. So check out. You can see we have received the confirmation as well. It's working, and we can see if we have received another request. Yes, another $80 payment. So we have did 2 calls. So that's a simple workflow. What the benefit of it is, you can customize your UI. You have this element as well in your control, which I have did, the dot stripe element, and you can apply all the css. You can apply sizes or border, shadow, everything you can do with the component. So that's how you will use it in this case. The problem is, we have the flow is complete. We have sent request to the server, our server, that our server will create, what you say, payment intent, returns client secret. Client will send request to the Stripe server. Now, how our server will know that the payment is being done? Let's say you are purchasing something from a service, and the payment is done on the Stripe. So our server need to know that payment has been done, so start shipping of that product as well. So for that we need to use webhook, so that once the Stripe is done with its payment, its success, then it send request to the server based on webhook, and then our server will start using that webhook. So for that, what we need to do is, what I'll do, I'll create another function inside our Netlify function, success payment, basic implementation. So in this basic implementation, what we will do is, let's forget the query string. So we have this success payment function in our Stripe server. We have developer option, and in that developer option we have option for webhook, and we can add endpoint from here. Here it will ask the URL. Now at this point we need to provide a web URL. So for that we need to deploy our application as well. So let me first go and deploy this. Okay. Now the problem is our code is inside a project. So at this moment, what I'll do is, because we have a repository and it has multiple folders, we cannot directly connect this repository to Netlify. So at this moment, I'll do manual deployment, and then we can see how it works. Netlify build site ID. Netlify init will ask you to create init. Okay, I don't need to init, I just need to link. So Netlify link, and it will ask, how do you want to link this folder? By search, choose the list, enter the site ID. Just a moment. Netlify. Watch and link sites, open login link in it. I guess we need to init. Connect this directly to existing Netlify, create and configure new site. Yes, we need to call Netlify init, and then we'll call create and configure new site. Team will be same, site name will be chosen by the Netlify itself. We don't have to worry about. Netlify CLI need access to a GitHub account to configure webhook and deploy keys. To do that, I'm not sure why it's asking for the GitHub. Okay, the problem is we have this folder and it okay, it will not deploy in this style. If I Okay, so what I'll do is for a moment, just to deploy this, I'll copy them, create a new project at the outside, then we'll because the problem at this moment we have is I'm trying to code in this folder, but it is a repository, it's folder inside a repository, and it's being developed by created by Sajja in separate account. That's why I guess it's causing a problem. If I link, let me try it one more time, then we'll go for the site is already linked. Okay, so Netlify deploy. It's working. I don't know, there was some problem. Initially, it was giving some error trying to authorize or something. But at this moment, from this very folder, it is deploying. So we are good to go. We do not have to do anything else. And it is being deployed. Let's see. Okay, so let me try to run it again. Netlify build. And Netlify. Okay. Okay. So we have this as a deployed on our Netlify server, and this movement it will work exactly like we have already done. So once I click the checkout button, okay, we need to configure the environment variable. Build and deploy inside the environment variable, and environment variable is looking for the client secret, which is we have created over here. So I'll provide this, copy this, save, and then deploy again. Okay, now we have data sent to the server, and we have received success. So it now this application is deployed and it's working exactly same the way we were doing at the localhost. The only difference is what we need to do is now we have this URL and we can create a webhook for which we came here in the first place. So we'll call netlify and our function is on dot netlify slash functions slash the name of our function is we have created with the name success payment. That's You can give any description. Payment webhook. And now we have all the events that occurred or that can be done on the Stripe server. So if account is being updated, balance is available, charge API being called, for us at this moment, credit card or all customers being created, deleted, updated, all these case, if anything done or happen on the uh, Stripe server, and you want this, that information needs to be updated so that you can do some action, so you can capture all those events. At this moment, what I need is payment intent event. So for order, if order is being created or everything. So if payment intent is succeed, then I need to call this event. So I'll call add endpoint. So this endpoint is being added, and so that means whenever the payment will be successful on the server, it will call this success payment function, and we will receive some information from the what you say Stripe server. So let me just display that information so we'll see how to use it. We whatever information or the data we receive in our lambda function, it's available inside event dot body. So I need to parse that. JSON dot parse, and it's returning hello. At this moment we do not have to worry about what it is returning. So we'll see this log in our Netlify server, that if it's working fine or not. That information will be available inside functions, and we have two functions, success payment. We need to see log for this function. So I have made changes. Now I'll deploy this on Netlify server. Once deployed, let me so here we can see the, so it's published. Now we can refresh the page. So at this moment, just to clarify, we have two $80 payments, and what we need to do is we need to see in our webhook if it's being called or not. Okay. Photo. If you are still wondering what is 4242, so we have seen in last class that this is a default testing card number you can use for testing. So that's what I'm using again and again. Invalid. Why it's so payment is done, it's successful, and then we'll go and see in functions log if we have any log or not. Yes, we have log here. So we have received some event is being called. So let's one more thing, let's check the webhook. Here we can see it's quite detailed, everything is available. It's failed. Event is failed. Let me see why this failed. Subject is not defined. Okay, so okay, we have an error in our code which is a subject. Okay, hello world. Otherwise, hook is being called and we have received that data on our server in our function, as you can see in the log data, which I have written over here. This, so we have seen log and we have this data, object ID, payment intent, charges, currency, invoice, payment method, all the information which will be part of payment intent will be received in our webhook, and we can then use that information to use anything. So let me change just, okay, uh, let me just push it over. Uh, so we can see the successful. Okay, so hopefully it's deployed. It's 7 years. Okay, so now let's go back again. Okay, so now it's showing as a success. So that means our webhook request was success. So that's the complete object which is being sent by the Stripe. So all the detail related to the payment, and Stripe received this success message from the what you say webhook. So our function is being called, and now we can use this information inside our function, and we can use anything. All the information related to the payment are available inside it, and we can use it. One last thing, which I just, let me show this as well. In our checkout function, when we created this payment intent in metadata, what we can do is, let's say object is being created, payment intent, customer will pay the information on the Stripe will call our webhook. But how we will know that which customer or which payment order we want to use? Either we'll store this payment ID in our database, or what we can do is, you have the option, whatever you want to do is, what I'll do is, let's say customer ID. That's my custom metadata, whatever I want to order ID. Whatever data I'll provide over here will be part of our object. Let deploy it again. Okay, so it's deployed now, and let me, okay, so we can see this payment intent, and on the webhook server, it's the payment is success, and we can see the data being sent. This object will be sent to our server. So we can see over here we have a metadata. Just a moment. Here, metadata. So that this whole object sent to the server, which is our server, and we can use that metadata to identify this information. We can control by payment ID as well, but whatever suits you, you can use it. So let me show the function log one last time. So inside that function log, that means it's on our server. We can see this metadata object. This metadata object will be available here to us, and then we can control whatever we want, however we want to use it, store it on database. So this is the complete flow. So first what you will do is, you need to understand that to call, if you want to customize the UI, you can use your page and you can use element from the server. So Stripe need to secure the card information, so that's why Stripe has already provided you the element, so that you do not have to worry about creating the validation of cards, if it's a valid card number or not. All these things done by the Stripe. So for that, the Stripe has provided you the element which is called Stripe elements. So you can use those elements and you can customize this CSS, so you can create your own UI. And to submit the information, there's a flow. You need to send request to your server. Your server will create a payment intent, and it will create a customer secret, client secret, which will be different each time. You will your client will receive that secret, and then you will submit request to the Stripe server for the payment directly from the client. Once it is done, you need to be updated, you need some information, so you will call the webhook. You will add the webhook in the Stripe, and the Stripe will call your webhook, and you will have your information, so it will complete your cycle this way. Okay, so I guess it's mainly it is that's what our what you say the flow for the custom Stripe connection is. We'll see in next class. You will see you guys in next class, and I think there is nothing left. Yes, it's done. So that's what it is, and we'll see next class. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, Zeeshan.